Okay, we'll begin the Plan Committee meeting of Akron City Council. Roll call, please.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer. Aye. Connor. Aye. Boyes. And Hannah.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Very good. Thank you for that. Boyes is up there. Oh, you got her. I'd like to entertain a motion. We accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Hearing none, the ayes have it. We have 5 items that are up for public hearing. 5 items that are up for public hearing today, and the process will be we'll receive a report from the planning department in reference to the item that's up for public hearing. After that, we'll ask that anyone that wishes to testify before the committee that they be sworn in by Sarah Biviano, our clerk of council. After that, we'll open up the public hearing and ask for any comments. We'll ask that you please provide for us your name and address. Be provided some time to speak before the committee. After that, we'll close the public hearing portion, open up to the committee for questions and comments. After that portion, we'll open it up to council for questions and comments. We will repeat that same process at 5 o'clock tonight, in which the committee, the only difference is the committee will then make a recommendation to all of council. I believe that's at 5 o'clock this evening. We'll replicate the process in terms of public hearings. Committee will make a recommendation. So with that, Sarah Biviano, can you please read in the first item that's up for public hearing? Thank you.
The first item up for public hearing today is an ordinance approving the City of Akron 2025 to 2029 Consolidated Strategy and 2025 Annual Action Plan, including applications and certifications for the Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnership and Emergency Solutions Grant programs, authorizing the Director of Planning and Urban Development to enter into all necessary contracts for the operation and term of the programs, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci? I'm sorry, Helen Tomek. Typically, it's Mr. Antonucci. I apologize, Helen.
Good afternoon, committee chairman, committee members. Before you is the 2025 to 2029 Consolidated Action Plan. In addition to that, we are proposing the 2025 Annual Action Plan, which prioritizes the budget of expenditures for 2025 Community Development Block Grant Funds, Home Investment Partnership Grant Program, and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. The goals of this program are to assist primarily low and moderate income people, to improve existing housing conditions, to develop affordable housing, and to expand economic development opportunities, and to aid the homeless. The budget for 2025 is $8.2 million. This includes $5.8 million of Community Development Block Grant Funds, which represents a 0.3 decrease from 2024, $1.4 million of Home Funds, which represents a 0.8 increase from 2024, and about $514,000 of Emergency Solutions Grant Program funding, which represents a 2.6% decrease from 2024. We are also budgeting approximately $412,000 of program income. The 2025 plan includes recommendations to continue the Akron Housing Program, to continue the development of new housing construction, to support local CDCs or community development corporations, to support the minority home repair program operated by Rebuilding Together, to provide assistance to local emergency and transitional shelters, to support the ongoing community services program, and supporting Great Streets program. The consolidated strategy includes a narrative describing the housing needs of low-income individuals, homeless individuals, and those with special needs. The consolidated plan represents year one of a 5-year budget. As I mentioned, we're looking at 2025 to 2029. In forthcoming years, we will be submitting annual action plans for each year for your approval. With that, we request consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll ask if there's anyone here that wishes to testify before the committee. Please be sworn in by Sarah Biviano.
If you're here to provide comments on this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do." Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone wishing to testify before the committee, if you can please step forward and provide for us your name and address. Thank you.
Yes, Jackie Hemsworth, and I'm the Executive Director for Access Shelter at 230 West Market Street, Akron, 44303. Thank you so much for hearing this today. The consolidated plan is so important to many of the people that are served by Access Shelter, and we have been very privileged to receive ESGP funds for many years here in our community in order to serve 300 to 400 women and children each year with emergency shelter services. They are all very critical to the journey of these women and children who, without our shelter, would have no place to go. We continue to not have enough shelter here in our community, and you heard the funds are continuing to be cut, and we continue to need these funds. In addition, the CDBG funds are critical to being able to make repairs, to expand services here in our community, and I would ask you to look favorably upon the consolidated plan for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Scalise. I'm Director of Housing Services at United Way of Summit, Medina, 37 North High Street, Akron, Ohio, 44308. I'm also a member of our local Continuum of Care Board to serve homelessness. I'm here to support both the allocations in the 2025 plan and the overall consolidated plan around homelessness. These funds are a vital, significant part of our overall community triage of homelessness. We live in a space where the resources are not nearly enough and they're shrinking. And so these funds being committed to make sure that we have efficient shelter beds, transitional housing programs, and rehousing programs from Category 1 homelessness are an essential part to delivering what limited services we have. As providers, we all hope to increase this number, but we know as a community, we'd suffer without it. So we appreciate the City of Akron addressing these problems with these resources across both home, ESG, and block grant funding. And we pledge to work in unison to make sure these funds are leveraged against other funding that comes into our community from the federal government via Continuum of Care funds to try to deliver the most efficient, consumer-centered homeless services system that we can. So I would ask for you to support this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak before the committee referencing item number 1 on the public hearing list? Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing portion, open up to any committee members that may have questions or comments. Yes, sir. Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I looked at the report, and I didn't read everything because it's 42 pages, but I did leaf through it, and my concern was the homeless budget. And I wanted to know, is there going to be an increase? Because as you know, the Akron area has a very serious homeless population, and I think they need additional funds in order to alleviate some of those issues. And especially, I did read over that the tiny houses, I think I talked to you about that when I first came on council, and about tiny houses in Akron, and I don't think you gave me an answer, but you did say that you would look into it. Do you have anything new to add on to that? Thank you.
So in regards to overall funding for the homeless, we are at the mercy of what's going on in Washington, D.C. The Senate and the House are currently reviewing the 2026 budget, so we don't know what that is going to look like. We do have a lot of national consultants and nonprofits that are lobbying on behalf of the homeless at the federal level. So we are hopeful that funding will increase or at least remain steady. But for 2025, what was allocated to the Emergency Solutions Grant Program was the $514,000 that we received, and I indicated that was about 2.6% decrease from last year. So it was about $13,000 less than last year. And then Mr. Julian can address the tiny homes.
Yes, Councilman, we have looked at and talked with a number of providers of housing that serve the homeless. We are preparing to release an RFP related to home ARPA funds that will be targeted towards either those who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness. And we hope to encourage some innovative housing types within that. What we have found in talking to people that are in that field is that tiny homes aren't necessarily the most efficient way to provide housing for folks in those situations, both on the development side as well as on the service provision side. It seems as though, when you shrink a house, the size of a house down, you're shrinking the development budget. But a house needs certain things. It needs sanitary connections, it needs water service, it needs utilities. That cost is the same whether it's a 1,800 square foot house or an 800 square foot house. Making those connections within a tiny house development, sometimes that undercuts the efficiency, how many people you can actually house. And so we're trying to balance, innovation and efficiency, getting as many people as we can housed. So we're still working through how, what we can do within that space in order to do the best that we can with the limited funds that we have. And then there's also the question about service provision. Success in this field is as much about the wraparound services as it is the building itself. And the more you disperse that population, the harder it becomes to provide those services. So again, about efficiency. So we're working through it.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Anyone? Yes, Linda Mobian. Open up to all council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Ms. Tomic and Mr. Julian. As a former member of the Continual Care Board for a number of years and working with the homeless population, I recognize that we're never going to get enough funding to house all the people that need to be housed. However, I do know that the lady that's there, what's the agency, Access? I know that they are always full and busy. All the shelters are full and serving various populations. And we thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I certainly support the plan and recognize that I'm not sure what they're doing in Washington anymore, but I know they're not providing the resources we need. But in addition to that, Mr. Julian, I hope that we don't take small houses off the board, because I recognize in going to many of the NLC conferences, there are a number of communities that are doing this and are really enjoying some success. Because part of the problem that we have is that even though we try to provide large facilities with apartments and so forth, you have all kinds of people that want to be housed in a different manner. And sometimes they want their own little small house or their own individual separated facility. And I recognize that we have to do a cost analysis, but I don't want us to take the tiny houses off the plan, because I do recognize that there is a space for those as well. And I do understand the sanitation and the infrastructure is costly. Some people tried to do it without putting that infrastructure in, and they had some real serious problems. So I recognize that that is going to be a cost, but I would like for us to continue to look at the possibility of doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda Mobian. Tina Boyes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was more related, I'm looking at the budget here, and I see you mentioned that home funds were down, or is that correct? CDBG up? Do I have that reversed?
I missed the question.
Go ahead.
CDBG was decreased by 0.3%, and home was increased by 0.8%. I believe there might be an error in the memo that you received.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was home was an increase.
Got it. I'm curious about the different buckets. So you have clearance, land assembly, housing development, great streets, other housing, et cetera. How is that looking this year compared with last year, those categories?
It is very similar. We did move some funds around to accommodate a couple of new projects. That includes Access. We had some significant conversations about homelessness. Access is looking to expand their shelter in the next couple of years. We budgeted $50,000 to assist with that in this year, and we are, depending on what our allocation is in 2026, we may increase that as well. I think they're going to increase it by, Jackie, can you help me out? How many folks? So as she's getting up, the other change is we have a line item in there called Strategic Acquisition, Relocation, and Clearance. We decreased that about $25,000 from previous years. That's just a line item in there in case there are some opportunity purchases that come along, blighted structures, that we need to purchase in order to allow for future development. And I think the other increase is there is a line item in here for entrepreneurial assistance nonprofits. That is a partnership with Urban League for some economic development opportunities for startup businesses. It's something that we've done for the past couple of years. So this is our allocation for $75,000. Jackie, can you?
Sure. So,
Jackie, go ahead.
yes, thank you. So Access,
I'm running the meeting, Maggie. Sorry.
no, fine. Access has been slowly working on a plan to increase the capacity of the shelter by eventually 80%. That is an increase of approximately 12 bedrooms. That equates to anywhere between, at any given time, 12 to 36 to 40 more people every night being served in the shelter. With the current climate of funding, we are moving our timeline out a bit. Originally, this project was to be completed by the end of 2026. I've had a lot of conversations with Ms. Tomic about this project and with our council person. And so we are pushing our timeline out a bit, but we are breaking our project into phases. We expect to have 2 additional bedrooms online by the end of this calendar year, 2025. So we are moving forward and really understand that our community needs this additional capacity as soon as possible. And we appreciate the city of Akron helping us to achieve this goal.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Tina, you okay?
I was thinking, so thank you. That was very helpful. I'm looking at like public facilities and improvements, and I may be confusing 2 things that I've read because I've been reading a lot. I've been reading the housing action plan too, and kind of going back and forth to see how this aligns. And I'm wondering, the public facilities and improvements, what are those for? Those aren't the infrastructure, public space improvements related to new housing, are they?
So public facilities and improvements, at this moment, we don't have anything specific in there. As opportunities present themselves, last year we did the Elizabeth Park splash pad. So we've used this line item for splash pads in the past, if they income qualify, or if there are opportunities and we can't meet those needs through the capital budget or GO, if some opportunities present themselves in certain parks for some general improvements.
Excellent, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Garrett?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Julian, I want to circle back to the tiny homes. During the National League of Cities, I had an opportunity to visit a few of the conferences that they had there. And one of the companies was Pallet, and they put together a nice booklet that talked a little bit about building a community and about building some bigger homes there. So I'd like to share this with you as well, just to bring you up on speed as to what Pallet is able to bring to our community. A lot of times individuals are coming home from incarceration. And when that individual come home, one of the options is moving in with a girlfriend or someone who's living on Section 8. They're not allowed to move in there. Some family members, because of whatever business they're operating, they're not allowed to move in there either. So I really think this is something that we should consider, even though it's a smaller space. A lot of our young men that's coming home, or women coming home from incarceration, don't have a place to land. They leave, not CSS, but the, what's the jail facility we have?
Oriana House.
Oriana House, thank you. Once they leave out of Oriana House, a place to stay. And so I know we talked about funding and dollars, but I think this is an area that we really should consider. And I'd like to share the booklet with you from that conference. That conference was really amazing. I had the chance to pick a few individuals, other council members, their brains about how this is working in their communities. I think this is something we should look at. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The questions or comments? I have a couple. In terms of the CDBG funds, which are the lion's share of this whole budget piece here, how much does Ward 6 or Ward 8 receive? Approximately, over the years, last 3 years, say.
Most of these line items are program-based or community services program or CDC-based. We could look at the housing rehab program.
Okay.
And look at lead, because we focused on lead for the past 6 to 8 years.
Okay.
So we can pull Ward 6 and Ward 8 lead cases, and then also look to see how many dollars we utilized CDBG as match for the lead program.
Very good.
And in terms of, like I said, services, we have United Way in here. We have a lot of different community services programs that are citywide. So they serve clients throughout the city.
Right.
We can reach out to them and get a zip code list.
There's quite a few restrictions, isn't there, in terms of 6 and 8?
Between Ward, correct. And that's why even in the Great Streets area,
Right.
Wallhaven, it does not qualify.
I just want to make sure it's clear for everyone here that 6 and 8, they don't get that much. They do not see that much in terms of the CDBG funding. Believe me, I'm a fan, always have been a fan of CDBG, always a fan of what we do with regards to our homeless and houseless, and absolutely support this initiative. Helen, you and I have had discussions time and time again over the years, referencing where we're at in terms of the posture of Washington, D.C. and where they're at on it, and have always remained concerned with that. We've also talked about, because oftentimes what you'll see in Ward 6 and 8, Ward 8, and other pockets of the city, you'll see the way it's designed is you'll have a neighborhood, and within a neighborhood, you'll have like a smaller area. Bruce, you may know where I'm talking about, Ward 8. There's on Drive area where there's a big need. However, though, we can't seem to be able to get the funds there due to design. And I've gone to Washington, D.C. and lobbied to try to ask them to relook at the way they have this set up so that those areas can also receive funds. And that was to no avail, unfortunately. Yes, Mr. Bolden.
Appreciate exactly what you're talking about. I know it's my understanding, and it's always been, is CBDG money is done by zip code income. Is that still correct, basically?
Census tract, but
Yeah, and Ward 8 kind of falls outside, but there are needs, especially in the Treeside Zon area. And
Yes.
I don't know if there's ways that we can, kind of like when you do spot zoning, where you do a neighborhood where you do zoning. If you could do something like that, that might, if there's a loophole of sort that we could do something for these neighborhoods, because every ward has these areas that we need to develop and need to put some funding in. The other thing we have down there, I understand, is a lot of apartments, and we need some single-family ownership, and we don't have a lot of home ownership down there either. So that's the other issue we have in Ward 8. Thanks.
And and again, these are folks that need help, and we should find a way to help them. I don't know what that is, and I know Ward 6 also has similar pockets, if you will. My next question is referencing, and I believe everybody here on council is in support of helping the houseless and such, but my question is that, and if I understand it correctly, I want to make sure we all understand it correctly, and that is that the Continuum of Care is a county-wide organization?
That is correct.
If you tracked, like, what percentage of the resources are spent in Akron versus the county?
I would venture to guess, so there are probably 30 different projects that are funded through the Continuum of Care on an annual basis. I would venture to guess that 92 to 98% of those agencies are based here in Akron.
Okay.
I believe there's only 2 that are outside of the city, and that's in Cuyahoga Falls and Wyoming Lake Drive.
Okay, very
But I
good.
can verify that and get.
Yeah, I would like to find out. I think it's important for us to understand, and, often we don't do enough. We feel as though we don't do enough. We're told we don't do enough. We do all we can here. I think we're a very giving city, and, and there's such a great need, and it seems to be just increasing over time. And I assume the numbers are indicating that in terms of the count, the January count that
We did, the count is completed. We can share that with you.
Yeah, that'd be good to find out. The trends too, like the last 5 years, where the funds are being spent the last 5 years, how much we're doing here locally versus our county friends who, like I said, we have an abundance of not enough resources here.
And I will say HUD has moved in a different direction in terms of actually supporting transitional housing as we have in the past. A lot of those dollars have converted to a rental assistance. So we can get data and see how many of those folks are choosing to live in Akron versus how many are choosing to live outside of Akron as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for that.
We'll need a couple weeks for that.
I understand. Thank you so much. Yeah, it'd also be interesting to see, like I said, like the last 5 years or so of CDBG expenditures, approximate, and I get it, that's going to be hard to probably track exactly, but it would just be interesting to see by ward where that's falling in at. So, thank you so much. Further questions or comments? What's the time frame on this again? Oh, yes, Sarah. Oh, I'm sorry, Linda Mobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want us to be real careful when we start talking about zip codes and where people are living, because unless the HMIS system is now able to pick up on this better, I know it's been in place for some time now, but a lot of the problem we have, folks, is when folks are homeless, they don't necessarily have a zip code or a ward that sometimes they go back to wherever the family originated from. And that may not have any relevance to where they are living. We have people that live in Cuyahoga Falls from Akron, Talmadge. I mean, people, you find beds wherever you can find a bed or an apartment or a unit. And it's going to be hard. I know the information you will provide, Ms. Tomic, will give us some information, but we need to be real careful how we look at that, because homeless folks are sleeping wherever they can find a vacancy and wherever their case managers or others can help them find a place to live. So it is hard to say that, this person is a Ward 1 versus Ward 7 or 8 resident or whatever the case may be. At least that's been my experience over the years. So whatever data you can provide, I think we need to review it with caution. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda Mobian, for that comment. And I apologize, maybe I didn't make it clear, but I was primarily focusing on the CDBG side versus the ESG or, that piece of it. But I do know that sometimes CDBG can be spent on homelessness as well. Yes, Helen, what's the time frame on this?
We could, if you could put on consent agenda, applications are unofficially due August 15th. We would like to submit it either the week of July 28th.
Okay. Okay, very good. Questions or comments from anyone? Is there a recommendation?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, would you like to wait till after the 5 o'clock public hearing to make a recommendation?
Thank you, sir. Biviano, we'll wait.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 2.
The second item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to install a high-rise sign at 61 South Cyberling Street and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Nathan Revez wishes to install a high-rise sign exceeding zoning code requirements on his property. The proposed sign structure would consist of a 10-foot by 10-foot steel lattice tower, 50 feet in height. It would be placed along the north face of a masonry block building, 35 feet from the east end. The open rectangular tower would be anchored to the ground and secured to the building wall by 2 support arms extending outward. The petitioner states that the goal of the sign is to provide visibility to the passing motoring public. While commercial businesses generally do not require large signs to attract customers to their places of business, like retail businesses, it is beneficial for the community to be aware of their presence and the services these commercial businesses offer. With a truck terminal parking lot in front of the business, a deeply set back building to the west, and vacant land to the east, J&J Plumbing has sufficient visibility from the highway. The distance from it, however, suggests that a larger signage would be beneficial to increase legibility and recognition. Based on the frontage of the building, which is 240 square feet, based on the building frontage, 240 square feet of signage would be permitted for a freestanding sign. The proposed 300 square feet of signage would adhere to the maximum total wall and pole signage allowed by code. Planning staff has consistently recommended approval of high-rise signage along the highway where there are similarly sized signs in the immediate area. High-rise signs can be found nearby on the north side of the interstate. At its proposed location, the sign should not interfere with any other buildings, should not have any negative effect on the surrounding area. Both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. Is there anyone here or online that wishes to testify before the committee? Please be sworn in by Sarah Biviano.
If you're here to provide testimony, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who wishes to testify before the committee. Please welcome.
Hi, my name is Nathan Ravis, 61 South Cyberling Street, Akron. I've been in Akron for 35 years. I'm the owner and operator of J&J Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, Electric. And we're proud of the city. We plan on being there for a long time. We bought a pretty rough vacant building there, and we've done a lot of renovations to it, opened a trade school there for our guys, and so but we can't really be seen by the highway. So we're hoping this sign helps us be a little bit more visible to the community, so we can get more work, hire more people, and the techs can be proud of where they work.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And welcome to City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming this afternoon. Anyone else wishing to speak before the committee? In favor, against, anyone? Very good. We'll close the public hearing portion and ask if there's any questions from any committee members at this time. Questions or comments from anyone? Sharon Connor.
Just a comment on behalf of Ward 10. Thank you for your continued business. We look forward to your expansion. Can't wait to see the sign. Good luck.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Is this the former candy distribution place? What was the name of it?
Akron
No?
Supply. Slushy Dog was there.
That's who it was. Okay. Close. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you so much. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the next item. However, I'd like to welcome you back if you'd like to at 5 o'clock. The committee will then have another public hearing, and we will then make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to table an item. Thank you so much again, and welcome to City Council. Thank you.
The third item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a commercial building at 1518 Copley Road and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. LaGuardia Copley LLC is requesting to expand their business by purchasing portions of 3 city-owned parcels surrounding their property to the north, east, and west, and then constructing a storage building on the back of the property. Conditional uses approval is required for the commercial building within the residentially zoned portion of the property. The building will measure 50 feet by 100 feet for an area of 5,000 square feet. Access to the building would be from the existing driveways along Copley Road and a service drive to the west. The structure will have a hip-style metal roof built to a height of 25 feet. The building will have white vertical siding with gutters and downspouts tied into the ground. Repros moved their business to this site on Copley Road in 2013. It has continued to grow each year. They're a seller and distributor of wide format printers and supplies. In addition, they print graphics used for displays, commercial signage, and installation on business fleet or personal vehicles. Currently, materials produced and installed by Repros are completed off-site in Copley. The sale of city-owned land will provide the business the additional space needed to consolidate their operations in one location here in Akron. The vacant land is not currently being used for any city purpose. The new commercial building will be located more than 250 feet from any residence and will not create excessive smell or noise. The goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan includes actively promoting vacant land for use by existing businesses. Planning staff and Planning Commission recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Mr. Antonucci. Sarah Biviano, can you please swear in anyone who wishes to testify?
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. I do. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open up the public hearing and welcome the City Council Planning Committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Lou LaGuardia, 1518 Copley Road, Akron 44320. We've been, as a family, my brothers and I own both Repros and LaGuardia Copley, which owns the property. For years, we've been trying to bring more of our employees and more of our work to the city. We were formerly in Broadview Heights, then short-term once talking to the city about potentially getting this land, which would give us space to build an install facility and storage facility on the property. We began down the road doing that. We've been talking to architects to get this done now that it looks like we can work with the city on the land.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome again.
Thanks.
Thank you, and you're invited back at 5 o'clock this evening. You're invited back at 5 o'clock this evening. Thank you so much. Anyone else here wishing to testify before the committee, either in favor or against? Okay. Not hearing anyone, we'll close the public hearing portion. Ask if there's any questions or comments from anyone whatsoever. Anybody? Okay, very good. All right. We will now move on to Jan Davis. Whose hand is up? I didn't see you there.
Sorry about that.
You're
It took
okay.
me a minute. Thank you. I just want to say that I'm in favor. Oh my goodness. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm in favor of the Repro. They've been a good stewards on Copley Road. Look forward to the expansion there. And just wanted to say that I'm in favor of that.
Good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jan. I assume sometime we'll see ordinance coming in for the sale of the land after this process is completed. And so that would be part of it. So, of course. Very good. With that, thank you all, and we'll move on to the next item. Sarah Biviano, thank you.
The next item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a vape shop at 1328 Copley Road and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Exotic Leaf LLC is requesting permission to establish a vape shop at this location. The nearest vape shop is over 2,500 feet away. The petitioner stated that they intend to sell items such as disposable nicotine vapes, kratom tablets, capsules, disposable Delta 8 and 9 vapes and cartridges, rolling papers, gummies, Delta 8 and 9 nuggets, hookahs, water pipes, and various nicotine vape juices and vape accessories. The petitioner states that they will be open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and will employ 4 people. They further state that they will meet Ohio's legal requirements for retail sale, adhering to current regulations and staying informed about any legislative changes, all within the bounds of state law. Objectives of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan includes providing well-planned, designed, and located business areas of sufficient size and location to service the needs of the population, developing retail areas in such a manner that they do not harm adjacent residential areas, and discouraging the overdevelopment of retail activities that can lead to retail blight. The products offered for sale are in many ways indistinguishable from the heavily state-regulated medical and recreational marijuana sales. The proposed use may be intrusive not only to the abutting residential properties to the north, but the surrounding neighborhood. In addition to this, the inclusion of this use would encourage unhealthy activities with long-term consequences for individuals and the community, while foregoing the same benefits for taxation as the marijuana dispensaries, which are held to strict standards, and licensing by the state, and limited to a finite number of licenses per municipality. And the Planning Staff and Planning Commission both recommend disapproval. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, I'll ask if there's anyone either online or in chambers that wishes to testify before the committee. Please be sworn in by Sarah Viviano, our Clerk of Council.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open up the public hearing and welcome you to step up, and we're more than happy to hear from you. If you could please provide for us your name and address. Welcome to City Council.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Chloe Britton, 1328 Copley Road, 44320. Thank you all for hearing us today. So, I want to address the concerns of our smoke and vape store. So, as stated, we will be open Monday through Sunday from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. On the weekends, we actually are open until 11 p.m. We do employ 5 employees at this time, so we've had a new hire due to the success of our business. We have many safety measures that are in place that not only protect the staff, but also the patrons of our business. We do provide an electronically locking, reinforced box workstation for our employees to work in. It's completely bulletproof, so if anybody were to enter our building with the intent of harming anyone, it's very hard to do so. In order to keep the community safe, we do enforce very strict ID requirements to not only enter our facility, but also to make purchases. So we have an electronically locking door system, and we have a camera system that's very high-tech and monitored from the workstation. So they have the ability to lock and unlock the door before anybody enters. If it looks like children, there's often people like children that sell candy and stuff like that. So just to keep them off of the premises, we're able to lock the door before anyone enters. As far as the products that we sell, we're not a dispensary. We do not present ourselves as one. There were concerns regarding the name of the business. After hearing those concerns at a previous meeting, we did change our name and our signage. So we now are represented as 330 Puff and Pass. We don't have the word leaf or exotic in our name or our signage anymore. After hearing those concerns, we found them to be valid, and we don't want to present as a dispensary or a medical marijuana facility. As far as taxation goes, we don't have the same benefits as them because we are a retail store, so we do actually pay sales tax at the normal rate. And due to the success of our business, we do plan to make a pretty hefty sales tax payment that we hope that will continue to flow into the city of Akron and help, fund things that are necessary within the community. So since opening, we've actually had no incidents. We've had no dangerous or violent reports, not that I've been aware of, or not that the city of Akron has been made aware of either. And we've had a chance to connect with Councilwoman Davis as well as Councilman at-large Garrett. We've had on-site inspections with both of them. They've both had the chance to walk through, check out our operation, see what we're doing, and offer a recommendation to us if they thought that we needed to make any changes or if they felt uncomfortable with anything that we were doing. And we got positive feedback during both visits. So we've been operating with that in mind since. And again, we haven't had any issues.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Anyone else wishing to testify before the committee?
Good afternoon. My name is Ferry Bilawan. I'm the owner of 1328 Capri Road. I'm here to support their business. They're a good tenant. They follow the rules. They never have a complaint. So I'm here to support them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both for coming down this afternoon. Appreciate that. And of course, invite you back at 5 o'clock this evening. Committee will then make a recommendation. Anyone else wishing to testify before the committee? Anyone else? Okay, hearing or seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. Oh, I know, I was going to ask if any of the committee members wanted have any questions or comments. Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe in the free enterprise system and also to let businesses do business in the neighborhoods. But I've got a question for you. Do you think that's a safe area based on all the locks, chains, and bells that you have on that facility? Why did you move there in that location? And also, what about the parking there? It's not in my business, but businesses have failed because they don't have enough parking. And that area for many, many years has been an area where they back out in the streets, and the parking is not good there. But I'm quite sure you see something that I don't see.
Thank you for your question. So as far as the parking on site, the building, the infrastructure was established prior to me establishing my lease there. I can't necessarily control the parking, but what I can do is, do my best to make sure that we are, making sure if any of our customers have concerns, we're offering them additional solutions. There's a lot across the street at an empty CVS. People have the ability to park there and walk across the street, following safety and street crossing policies, but we haven't had any concerns. Our patrons tend to come in small waves. We don't have like a lobby full of people most of the time. There's not a lot of loitering outside of our building. And then as far as the community itself, I can't, judge a book by its cover. I can only say what I've experienced since establishing business there, and I haven't had any issues with the people there. We've established really good relationships with many of them. We actually have a loyalty program on site, so when you make a certain amount of purchases, by registering your phone number, it keeps track of how many times you visited. And there's people that have been there 20 to 30 times, and they keep coming back. They feel safe. I feel safe opening my doors to them, so I don't feel a concern for my safety or their safety when entering our building.
Okay, you good? Okay, thank you. Jan Davis.
Thank you. I had originally, I was not in support of this, but after I met with and have been talking with and working with Chloe and the staff there, I'm going to go ahead and support them. More so because we've got these vape shops opening all up over Akron. And we need to start giving our minority entrepreneurs an opportunity to, enter into that business instead of continuously barring them from it. I believe that they're going to try and do the right thing. I will work with them continuously. One thing that they have done, and it's very noticeable, in that parking strip there that used to be kind of trashy, they've been keeping that clean, all of the businesses up there. And I've talked to some of the current business owners there. They've had no problem with them, and they welcome them there. And so I'm going to go ahead and support this, and I'm asking that my council members do that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan Davis. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Good. Very good. Thank you. Again, I'd like to invite you back at 5 o'clock this evening, in which the committee will then make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to table the item, take time for further study. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I believe the next item is item number 5, Sarah Viviano.
The final item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a vape shop at 1252 East Talmadge Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Exotic Leaf is requesting permission to establish a vape shop at this location. The vape shop is defined by the zoning code as a store that intends to sell 25% or more nicotine vape products and vape accessories. It requires conditional use approval regardless of location. The petitioner has stated that they operate with a distinct business model, include public job creation for local residents, and offer strict compliance with ID verification and public health standards. Objectives of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan include developing retail areas in such a manner that they do not harm adjacent residential areas, and discouraging the overdevelopment of retail activities that lead to retail blight. This retail district on East Talmadge Avenue has a variety of stores and services offered. While not considered a marijuana dispensary under the terms of the state, they still intend to market and sell hemp and marijuana-derived products. Part of consideration for conditional use approval is that the vape shops be located greater than 2,500 feet from an existing vape shop. The nearest vape shop to this one is at 1089 East Talmadge Avenue. While it is considered legal nonconforming because it was established prior to the enactment of the regulating ordinance, it is less than 2,500 feet away. One of the negative effects of vape stores that the regulating ordinance is designed to address is the clustering of these stores in retail areas, which can lead to blighting conditions. Further, the authorization of this use would encourage unhealthy activities with long-term consequences for individuals in the community, while foregoing the same benefits for taxation as the marijuana dispensaries, which on top of requiring a conditional use are held to strict standards and licensing by the state and limited to a finite number of licenses per municipality. And the planning staff and planning commission recommend disapproval. Thank you.
Me. Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. I'd like to ask Sarah Biviano to please swear in any individuals that may be here that wish to testify before the committee.
Is there anyone here to provide testimony for this public hearing? Looks like we do not have any speakers, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Sarah Biviano. We'll still open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to testify, going once, twice, thrice, and seeing none, we'll open up to the committee for any questions or comments. Or any council members. Mr. Lamardo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I know where this vape shop is, obviously, and it's less than 2,500 feet from the other one on Talmadge Avenue, which
That's
is
correct.
called the Twisted something or else, Twisted Heads, I believe.
Right. That's correct.
Yeah, I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Mr. Garrett?
Thank you, Chair. So, providing that this doesn't go through and the individuals in these locations continue to operate, what's our plans there? Have we thought about what's the next steps? I know there are vape shops, but what happens if it turn into a smoke shop and then start to sell things that they shouldn't sell? I don't know if that's your area, but what happens in that space?
Thank you. Very good question. Mr. Antonucci?
Yeah, so we are looking at, we originally started this ordinance that these are falling under, addresses vape shops specifically, which is mostly with the nicotine, artificial nicotine products. We are now looking at smoke shops. So that would, the smoke shop would encapsulate all of it. So it would handle the vape, nicotine vapes, as well as the hemp-derived products. Now, we're finding that these vape stores also sell these hemp products, and so we're trying to lump everything together in one cohesive ordinance. So we're working with law right now to put something together. So, ideas are welcome, but at this point, we're piecing it together. So.
Okay.
And we will
any
present,
ideas?
obviously.
I've spoken to Mr. Julian, and any ideas you may or may not have, whatever, ideas you might have. I've been talking to Mr. Julian about those, and I know they've been working on it. So.
Yeah, we've been working with law for some months now. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. No,
No,
I was
I didn't wanna
asking
cut-
him if he had anything else.
But yeah, we've been, and so we have legislation actually that we took to Planning Commission.
Yes.
And that will come in here after break, after the recess in September.
Yep.
Related to a change that's, as Mr. Antonucci said, broadening the definition of beyond just the vape products, so we can take into account the fact that a big chunk of this business is about CBD products that fall below that threshold that requires them to be sold in a dispensary. And then we're also looking at having the same spacing requirements for these stores as we do for the dispensaries. 1 mile from each other, and then 500 feet from a sensitive use such as a church, playground, library, et cetera. But we're going to pair that with a licensing requirement, a local licensing requirement, so that we can find out where all of these are. And then if a certain amount of their space of the business is devoted to these products, then they'll be subject to those spacing requirements.
Yes, thank you for that. No, and I know they've been working hard on this. And I think all of our concerns are CBD. And I don't think it's been defined by the state in terms of what that is. If I'm out of bounds, tell me. And I think that's where our concerns is, because we're hearing all kinds of stories where they're making this stuff up and it's not regulated. We don't know if it's safe or not. So
Yeah,
fentanyl seems to be in a lot of things. So
I think that's it. We don't know exactly what we're dealing with here. There is, I say two things there, that, this was kind of a byproduct of a 2018 Farm Bill, right? That they said, below a certain concentration of the intoxicating stuff, whatever that's called, then it's considered industrial and it doesn't need to be regulated for these purposes. Well, then they found out, I can use that threshold and create something that I can sell over the counter without, and then that's where we are. So there was that loophole that was created, and I think somewhere in the last couple of years, somebody figured out to wholesale that really cheaply, and it floods our neighborhoods. What is also going on is there's been proposals both at the federal level in the legislature and in Columbus to sort of look at that loophole and to explore that, right? And so there was actually a budget item in this just recently passed state budget that said they're going to create this little task force or something, I can't remember exactly how they phrase it, to really look at that. Good. And to identify. So the outcome of that may well be that this all goes away or not, but in the meantime, we're dealing with this kind of loophole and gray area.
good? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is my last question of the day. Why did the planning staff recommend disapproval of both of these vape shops? Why did you do that? Why did the planning staff do that?
Well, yeah, so we're first off trying to be consistent with it, for one. This one on Talmadge Avenue, we actually, in the vape store legislation, have a spacing requirement of 2,500 feet from another store. This one happens to be too close to an existing store, so that was a disqualifier in our way of thinking on this particular one, because you don't like them to cluster in certain areas. It can create more of a blighting situation for a retail area for that. The other one on Copley Road, they started out a little bit different than what they've kind of turned into through this process, since they've met with the councilwoman and everything. They did have a big sign up that said dispensary, so there was a little bit of a misconception on what they really were. So that was a concern. We saw that there were more, hemp-derived products at that particular location. Also, it's within like 2,500 feet of a park, Kerr Park, which is too close, we feel. So that was a concern as well. I'm sorry, 250 feet from Kerr Park. I might have said 2,500, it's 250 feet from Kerr Park. Whereas the medical and the adult use marijuana dispensaries need to be 500 feet from a park. So there are some things that the vape stores are working around by selling hemp products that don't even comply with what we require for the marijuana dispensaries, essentially. So that's what we've been pretty consistent on these in terms of a recommendation.
You good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kamer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the record, I want to go backwards a little bit. Mike, on items 4 and 5 for today's public hearing, the planning staff and the commission has recommended disapproval, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I have one final question, maybe, maybe not. It depends how you answer. Now the question simply is this, now this concludes the 3 that was pending whenever we proposed the moratorium. Is this the third, the second and third? Because we had Highland Square was 1, I know that.
We have one more coming.
Do we? Okay, I thought we had 3 that was kind of pending.
Well, we had one that just went to Planning Commission, that Herb Hub on Mogador, I think, is the last one.
Oh,
of
so
that
we had
group.
4? Okay, no, that's cool. All right, good.
And we should have be able to bring legislation here, sort of a new regime for it before that moratorium expires.
Okay, cool.
That's our goal.
Good. So we actually have 4. The first was the Highland Square, these 2 today, and then the final is Mogador Road, right? Okay, that's the moratorium piece. Okay, cool. Thank you for clearing that up, at least for me. Any other questions or comments? Oh, Linda Mobian.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a follow-up to Mr. Garrett's question. Help me. I know we was doing a study and we're coming up with some guidelines, and you said you already have it in the commission's on their agenda. If we decide to move forward with whatever recommendations you are making, will these current operating vape shops be grandfathered in, or they will be then subject to the new standards that you're proposing?
Good question. Do we have an answer for that one?
Yeah, so we, by shifting the definitions and shifting the zoning regulation, we're essentially starting a new administrative process from the get-go.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have businesses that are going to be grandfathered in.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, our hope is that we can create this licensing process. We find out where everybody's selling this stuff, right? And then determine which ones are the focus of their business is this stuff. And then from there, we can implement the zoning from there. And then slow the proliferation. That's a tough word.
Yes.
Proliferation of these
Indeed.
stores.
Very good. Good question.
I would-
Any other questions or comments from anyone? Oh, yes, Sam DeShazier.
Well, thank you. There's a definition that I think people don't understand, but I just wanted some clarification on it. Smoke shops at the moment, some of them are allowed to sell vape products up to a certain percentage. Is that correct? Is that 25%?
It's 25%. That's what yes, correct.
Okay.
That's the vape store definition for the nicotine vapes at this point.
And so regardless of that, regardless what our vote is, they still will be able to sell up to 25% of vape based on what their business model is today.
Well, they will end up being lumped in with this whole smoke shop definition, and then we're going to be looking at a percentage for that as well. So it may be, I think we're at 30% maybe at this point, or 10%. We have a percent, 10%.
No, he's in the back.
Did you tell their name by his hours?
It's based, currently, it's based on volume of sales, right? But then we're going to a measure of floor space.
Floor space.
Because it's easier.
Gotcha. That adds up.
Don't need an accountant.
Okay, not volumes of sales, but based on percentage of occupied space in a facility.
Devoted to those products.
Okay.
I hate to pile on, plus the hour is late, but the one piece, and we've talked about the enforcement stuff and this and that, but it seems as though these vape folks, more so than others, I know others utilize this to advertise, but they use the flag type things, must have a special sale on vape, big sales that are out there. They're kind of dangerous in a way if it's windy out. So I don't know if we could enforce that or not. I know it's difficult, but
Yeah, it's something, we actually have that in our code now for any business. So it's something that we would have. I don't know that we would specifically put it on smoke shops, but we do have, we have that already covered, so.
Just a sideline. Very good. Anything? Oh, Mr. Kamer. Uh-oh. I opened something up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I think, you know, eventually, Kyle, you mentioned something will be coming our way after break. I'm just encouraging the city administration or your guys' department to consider really not just bringing in a piece of legislation, but really presenting to us a lot of information so that we're fully educated on this, if it's a presentation or something like that. So, because there's a lot to take in right here in regards to this. So, whatever you can do to help us out, because, you know, a piece of legislation and I mean, you're doing a good job trying to explain to us, but there's a lot to take in. So I appreciate that. That's just my recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kamer. Jan Davis? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
All right.
Okay.
I appreciate Mr. Julian's comments, and they did get off to a rough start, but, you know, after several meetings and, you know, my stopping in, Mr. Garrett stopping in, they're compliant. So I think that we do need to give them that opportunity to operate, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Jan Davis. Any other questions or comments? Okay, very good. With that, we're adjourned. We will
We have one more piece.
not gonna adjourn.
Item number 6 on the regular agenda has a substitute offered as an amendment. You will see it as item number 2A in new legislation. That is an ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title III Administration, Chapter 31, Departments, Boards, and Commissions, Article 2, Urban Design and Historic Preservation, Section 31.395, Alterations, Demolitions, and Environmental Changes of the codified ordinances of the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Anyone?
The substitute, all it does is it extends the time of appeal from 30 days to 60 days at the clerk's suggestion.
Very good, thank you. Further questions or comments? Is continued time on this okay? Okay. Motion to refer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good, the ayes have it. 1 second. What do you want to do? Take time? Continue time? Okay. Okay. We'll take time on the balance of the agenda. Thank you all.
Our next committee of the day is the Rules Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis. We'll give everyone just a moment here to get to their seats. Thank you. Okay, we're ready to begin the Rules Committee meeting. Again, those committee members are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis. All committee members are present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Viviano. I'd like to call the Rules Committee to order. We have previous minutes to approve. If I get a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We have 2 new pieces that come before rules today. The first is a resolution approving and confirming the appointment of Kara Warren and Kevin Smith as members of the Akron Public Art Commission and declaring an emergency. Do we have anybody here to present on this? The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Council. Before you is proposed legislation to appoint two very qualified individuals to the Akron Public Arts Commission. Here we have the staff liaison, Summer Hall, who works with the Akron Public Arts Commission, and you've seen the evidence of their work if you've looked at our wonderful traffic boxes and how they've enhanced every ward in Akron. But as to the composition of that council, I will refer to Ms. Hall.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Summer Hall, Cultural Engagement Coordinator for the City of Akron. And the Public Arts Commission was established in 2020. I've been here before, presented to you all before. But at this present time, we do need to appoint two new members. I have them currently here with me today, Kevin Smith and Kiera Warren. They all represent the City of Akron. Kiera represents Ward 2, and Kevin Smith represents Ward 9. So I would like to ask for your approval to appoint these two commissioners to the commission.
Thank you very much. We have any questions or comments from any committee members? Linda Mobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to go on record saying that these are two fine individuals, and I think we will welcome them to serve in any capacity in our city, and thank them for offering their time to do so.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other committee members or council members?
Just a quick, who has left? Who are they replacing?
Well, there were two vacant seats for almost about 6 months. Stephanie Leonardi stepped off due to having other engagements, so her term actually ends August 1st. So they will be stepping into a new term, which is usually August 1st is when we usually appoint members. And the other person that was there stepped off a while ago, so we just never filled that position.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Keep that up. So my question is, I'm looking at Sharon's tablet now. She's got all the representatives on there. How many do we have on the Arts Commission?
We have 9 members.
9 members.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, and do you go by wards or you just go by recommendations, or how's that work?
I try to make sure that we represent every single, well, we can't represent every single ward because there's only 9, but I try to make sure that we represent the wards within the City of Akron, only having 2 people that are in the same ward. So the only wards that are not represented right now are 5 and 7. Usually those are the hardest wards to get people, but you're 7, huh? Sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to know, I would like to know more about how hard.
But usually.
Who says that?
Well, usually what we've done in the past was have done like a call for commissioners, and people would apply and get selected that way. So like I said, the only wards that are not represented this time are 5 and 7.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. And then real quick, what are the terms for the members?
There are 5 3-year terms, and there are 4 2-year terms.
Okay. All
right. You're welcome.
Thanks, Councilman. Any other council members or committee members? What's the time frame on this?
Well, may I introduce the 2 members if you're interested in meeting them, or?
By all means.
Okay. Would you 2 stand up? Is Kevin here? No? Okay. Well, this is Kiera Warren. Yes, you can step at the podium, please.
Gotcha. Okay.
I didn't, okay, got it now. Thank you. I'm Kiera Warren. I'm a local Akron native, and I'm very excited to be able to join the commission here. I'm an artist myself, so it really is an honor and a privilege to be able to give back to the community. I'm Firestone grad, so I definitely benefited from the arts programs and a lot of the local programs growing up. So I'm really excited to be able to be a part of that and help the next generation and our current artists that we have here in Akron.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Councilman. We would respectfully request suspension of the rules.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Yes, suspend the rules.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that out tonight. And we have another piece to come before us today. It's an ordinance amending Title III, Administration, Chapter 30, Mayor and Council, Article 1, generally of the codified ordinances of the City of Akron, to add Section 30.04, official insignia, and declaring an emergency.
Greetings, Council, Council Chair. This ordinance would clarify the inclusion of new insignia and logo to the City of Akron assembly of seals, logos, and insignias. Currently, when there's a new one, it has to be adopted, but rather than do that piece by piece, this actually makes accounting for, like, for example, that we're now an All-America City for 2025. There's currently a logo design process that's going on now, so that all of those components of Akron representation would be addressed by ordinance.
All right, thanks for that presentation. Any questions from any committee members or any council members? Councilman Fusco.
Thank you. What's the time frame on this?
The time frame is we were hoping for to wrap that up before the council goes on break, so we would respectfully request the suspension of rules.
Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Was there any logos before 1981? I see that we cite certain ones here. I'm just curious.
I am not clear about that. It might have not been designated as a logo, but as something else. I can certainly provide that information to council.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Just curious on that piece of it. And we've seen it abused in the past, the logo itself. And I see here that we also have penalties and et cetera, which like that a lot. I think that's prudent. I just like what I see here, to be honest with you. But I'd like a little bit of time to study it.
Okay,
so
certainly.
Thanks.
Recommendation from the committee?
Mr.
Nope, I'm sorry. Councilman Bolden.
Just a question for clarification. This is the insignia, not the new logo, correct?
This is to add the insignia to that section so that it's insignia, logo, and other indicia of identification with the City of Akron.
Okay. I guess my question is, when do you use the insignia? When do you use the logo? I guess I'm confused on that. That's all.
So am I, frankly.
Okay.
But I will.
It's not just me. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
Yeah, and this is, but this I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We're also, the mayor's office is looking at another logo, right?
Yeah.
Because this, the 25 one that we see in front of us attached to legislation is one for the legislation, but there's also another one coming possibly, just to clarify.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, possibly.
Possibly. Yes.
It's
okay.
I can get additional information, and someone who's the drafter of the legislation here, unfortunately, other court appointments prevented their appearance, but certainly I would be happy to get that information.
Thank you, sorry. Thank you.
No worries, thank you.
thanks for that information. Is there any other questions from anybody else? Councilwoman Mobian?
I don't have a question. It sounds like we want to put it on the consent agenda at least, I guess, or delay it for some reason. So I was prepared to vote to make the motion.
Any other comments or questions? Is there a motion?
I move that we place it on the consent agenda since you are providing some additional information. It gives us a week.
That's fine. Second.
There's a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that on the consent agenda, and we have nothing further to come before rules. We will be adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee today is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. And we'll get started in just a moment here. Thank you. Okay, we're ready to begin the Public Service Committee. Again, those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. We have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'd like to move forward and call the public service meeting to order. All members are present today, and we did hold a meeting last week that we do need to approve the minutes, please.
Motion to approve previous meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, thank you. Moving on to our agenda today, we do have quite a few pieces in front of us, and our first piece is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with G. Stevens Incorporated for professional engineering services for lead service line replacement program 2025 project and declare an emergency. And we have with us today our service director, Chris Luddle. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this legislation will allow us to enter into a contract with Glenn Stevens Incorporated, GSI. They're going to provide on-site construction management to our what we call our lead service project we're doing this year. It's all about replacing the galvanized. So we did receive funding to do this. The total projects we brought to you a few weeks ago, 22 million. 22 of that million is 53% of that is principal forgiveness. So in this legislation, the UCR, I think it states 590,000. That's up to. We plan to do a lot of this with our in-house staff. But one thing we found out, we bid this 4 separate contracts out of the 22 million. And when we had our pre-construction meetings with those contractors, they identified that there's 2 years to get this work done. But some of them expressed to having multiple crews and wanting to get this done at I would say at a higher rate than we anticipated. So we do not have enough staff to watch. Well, one contractor said they could have 4 or 5 crews out there at one time. So that means you'd have to have 3 to 5 inspectors on a given day, and then you times that by 3 other contractors. That's why we decided to enter this contract with Glenn Stevens Incorporated. It does say without the formality of advertising for bids, but we did go through an extensive RFP process with our reservoir basin that we're replacing. So we brought that to you not too long ago, and we interviewed 3 contractors, and Stevens was one of those. And we talked to them about their availability. So we did interview them. We did interview Answer, which was formerly H.R. Gray, which they're a new name now. We did interview Rulin about this project. So we did go through a due diligence on interviewing companies to pick this, and we ultimately come down to G. Stevens for this galvanized replacement program, which is mostly all on private property. So there's going to be coordination with homeowners. They're going to have to obviously get into the house, and this is from your lawn strip, devil strip as Akron calls it, into the home and connect to the meter.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Chris Luddle today in regards to this piece? Any other council members with us? All right. What are you thinking? Consent okay on this one?
Yes, sir.
Committee?
So move for the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We'll put that on the consent agenda. Moving on to the next piece is authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids and requesting and receiving requests for qualifications, other known as RFQs, for professional engineering services for the Akron Water Supply Source Water Modeling Study Project and declaring an emergency. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As it's stated in the title clause, this will allow us to advertise for an RFQ to hire a consultant to provide a detailed engineering analysis of our city water, drinking water system, our raw water, as we call it. As you know, in our reservoirs, we have about just over 10 billion gallons stored, and there are times in a drought condition where we'd have to supplement that, which means we have other lakes up there, like Lake George, it's right adjacent to Rockwell, that we could pump out of. And what would that look like? So this analysis is going to help us be more proactive instead of reactive. We don't want to get into a situation where we start to see that 10 billion go down to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6. Obviously this spring we were probably at our highest ever. All three, West Branch and Ladue and Rockwell, were well over crest with all the rain we had in April and May. Now we're getting into a situation, we're still very high. We're way over 9.5 billion. But this helps us look at all those alternate sources and how we can have a program that if in need be, and it doesn't happen overnight, it would take months and months, but it would be more towards the August, September timeframe. If we don't see a lot of rain coming, we could supplement with that. So this is what this is going to do. It's going to be a lot more proactive than reactive if we ever get into that situation.
All right, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Chris? Any other council members with us today? All right, what are you looking for this one? Consent okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Move for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda. Moving on to the next piece, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and if awarded to accept and expend grant funding through AMATs for congestion mitigation and air quality improvement, other known as CMAQ funds, and declaring an emergency. And Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, members of the committee, this is a CMAQ application through AMATs. As you know, we have to submit these, plan for these well down the road. So this money's 2030 money is what we're applying for. So this is way down the line. This will allow us to enter these applications, and then if we are successful, build these projects. So typically, this CMAQ money, to give you some examples, we're looking at the White Pond 77 interchange. We're looking how we can reconfigure that, work with ODOT, and do some changes there to reduce the congestion at that intersection. Right now, we're looking at, it's about a $6 million project, and out of this funding, we may get $1 million, or we may get $1.5 million, okay? Then we have to, these funds will be available, or will be awarded first quarter of next year, and then we start building these projects. That's when we come back to you and says, we're going after OPWC, we're going after safety money, we're going after these other funding sources to build this project. Another project that we did not get funded, we brought to you a few years ago, is the multi-use trail down on Akron Peninsula Road. It's basically from West Portage Trail, which we just finished the sidewalk down to the corner. We're looking to put a multi-use trail past the new Riverwood allotments, all the way up to Timber Trail Apartments or Timber Ridge Apartments. It's about a mile. It's about a mile-long trail, multi-use along there. We didn't get that funding. We're putting it back in here. We're asking for just over $1 million. Now, out of that $1 million funding, part of that is Cauga Falls. If you look at the border lines down there on AP Road, Cauga Falls owns part, we own part. This would be a split between the two if we got the funding. Another one we're looking at is this whole Summit Lake neighborhood. Now that we're doing more work down there, we're looking to connect a lot of those areas to make, this is part of our Greenway bike infrastructure. We have sidewalks that just end in the Summit Lake area. This would be able to take one sidewalk and connect it with another one. This would be able to look at more bike lanes, at more ways of travel through the Summit Lake neighborhood. So there again, that's about, I think we're asking about $3 million. So we've been working with planning. This application we're putting in, like I said, is down the road, but we have to start here. If we can get CMAQ, then it helps us build these projects out. And obviously, we will come back to you once we apply for OPWC. And once we do the project, we will come back to you for approval.
All right, well, thank you. Questions or comments for Chris? Committee members? Any other council members with us today? All right. Consent okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Committee?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda. All right, moving on to the next piece. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and if awarded to accept and expand grant funds from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Forestry Urban Forest Grant Program and declare an emergency. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. I'm going to turn this over to Casey because she worked hard on this with Matt Knoll, our city arborist, but I'm going to let her take this one and explain it to us, all the work she put in on it.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is a state Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Division of Forestry. It's an urban forestry grant. This would be a 2-year grant. $100,000 in funding is the maximum, and we would likely apply for that maximum. This is a grant that won't be due until the end of August, and so we have not, to be candid, we don't have the application together just yet. We're bringing it to you because we want to get your approval on this before the break so that we can apply for it at the end of August. I believe we attached the application in the legislation so that you can look at it and reach out if you have questions. It's a pretty broad topic range grant, so it will definitely involve some tree planting, in particular in neighborhoods in need of trees, lower tree canopy neighborhoods that can receive some more benefits from tree planting, whether it be heat island reduction, stormwater retention, things like that. So it will involve tree planting. It might also involve some staff training, some engagement with the community. So we are still shaping what the application will look like, and we'll be submitting at the end of August. So this is our traditional, permission to apply and if awarded, expend the funds legislation. And I should have mentioned, no local match required.
All right, thank you, Casey. Committee members, any questions or comments? Any other council members with us today? All right. What are you looking for this one?
I believe consent is okay. The application is the end of August, so we're just looking to get it passed before the break here.
All right, thank you.
Move for consent.
Can I get a second? Second. All right, all in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda. Thank you for presenting that. All right, moving on to the next piece is ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into intergovernmental agreement or agreements with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for for periodic water quality inspections and declaring an emergency. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This grant is fully funded by the Ohio Department of Department of Development, DOD, Brownfield Remediation Grant, and it was awarded to the city. This allows us to accept that grant. What HZW Environmental is going to be doing is doing a lot of analysis and soil testings done on the Hickory neighborhood. We're getting a lot more interest down in the neighborhood for new residential, so this will allow us to move forward with all the testing needed before those residential properties are sold. HZW did the original analysis for us years ago. This is just a continuation of what they did previously on soil testings and for the neighborhood. Like I said, we've gotten more and more interest. I think we've brought a few parcels to you in the last 6 months of a couple new houses being built. So this is to help us continue with that growth down there on Hickory Street.
All right, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Chris?
I'm so sorry, Mr.
Oh.
Chair. I think I may have heard that wrong. Were we on number 7 for the natural resources for water quality inspections?
Oh, we're taking time on that one.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You want to read that one back in?
Oh.
Did I?
Is that the one that you read in, Mr. Chair? Or
Yeah.
did you go right into number 8?
Oh, I'm sorry. You read,
No, I read in number 7.
You did. I want to take time on that if I can.
Okay, but
Thank
hold
you
on.
for clarifying.
Yes.
So, yeah, I read in number 7, but did you explain number 7?
I did not. I did not.
So you explained number 8.
I explained number 8 for HZW, the next one. So let's go back to 7.
That is true.
I'll start over. I would like to take time on this, sir.
Okay,
I need more clarification from ODNR.
okay. So you don't want to talk about it or nothing? We're
No.
good, okay. So, committee, motion for time.
Motion for time.
Second.
All in favor for time, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed for time? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so that's okay, we'll move on to number 8.
Yes.
And then I'll read that in. Authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with HZW Environmental Consultants LLC for professional services necessary to complete the Hickory Street Environmental Project and declare an emergency. Chris?
Yeah, so this one here, we did receive a grant from the Ohio Department of Development, a brownfield remediation grant to fund this. And what they're going to do is they did the original analysis and other continuing analysis on Hickory Street for the residential development. So we are getting a lot more interest on Hickory Street. So they are going to be looking at some residential parcels before we sell them to look at if there's any environmental concerns or what needs to be remediated before those homes could be built.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments? Councilman Lombardo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's been a year or so that I've passed through Hickory Street. Is it so from
North?
Memorial Parkway going south to North
Street.
North Street, yeah.
This
Is
is,
it all open?
this is mostly from north down, just past, it's even past Silver a little bit. There's a councilman that lives there. It's past his house. So we had the old, there is a natural gas station. When I say station, it's just a building before you make the curve and start to go down into the valley. So it's that section up there.
Is it a through street now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yep. So it's before the tracks.
Yeah.
Yep. The cemetery
I
owns
just
most of
wanted
the
to get a
property
visual.
down by the tracks. Yes. So it's that area there.
Cool. Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. What do you want? What would you like done with this one? We're on number 8.
Consent's fine.
Consent's okay? Okay.
Motion for consent.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of consent?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, moving on to our final piece, number 9. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2023, Phase 1, unimproved street resurfacing program by treating the surface thereof with substances designed to preserve the surface and declare an emergency. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I wasn't here last week, but I know Mr. Bernowski had several of these pieces. It's basically the same explanation. This legislation is for the unimproved portion of the residential program from 2023 that was completed in 2024. I think he did tell you last week that we've had a few years now with all these lead services, with the ARPA money, with the water line replacement, that some of these streets got pushed from year to year, and that's why this one that says 2023 was not finished till 2024 till that other construction was completed. Now it's been completed a year. That's the warranty period. This will allow us to go ahead and submit the invoices to the residents for these improvements. They can either pay it over 5 years or they can pay it in one lump sum.
Nice. Jeff did a pretty good job last week, too.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from committee members? Any other council members? All right. Consent okay? Committee?
Move for consent.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda. We are adjourned.
Is that the final?
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Biviano. We have previous minutes to approve. If I could get a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Would you like a roll call?
Yes, please.
Sure. McKittrick,
Aye.
Kamer, Lombardo,
Aye.
Hannah,
Aye.
and Davis.
Aye.
The motion to approve the minutes passes 5-0.
Thank you, Clerk Biviano. We have two pieces that come before us today. The first is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Davis Logic, Inc., doing business as All Hands Consulting for the provision of emergency management consulting services and declaring an emergency. Who's going to be presenting today?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the rest of council. Esther Thomas, council liaison, and former Chief Natko will be addressing this piece.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Chief, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. What we're trying to do is to build a professional emergency management office for the city of Akron. When I say the city of Akron, Akron wants to be not beholding or not dependent upon another organization. We want to be able to have our own emergency management organization set up, not just for today, but for down the road. We're concentrating on the emergency aftermath and the recovery for the citizens of Akron. That's a big piece of what emergency management does. And we're trying to set this up with a professional firm to come in and help me establish this office. With the help, I've done several things so far, but it will fall short of where we need to be. And this is what we want to do. To select this particular firm, we put out an RFP, and this was earlier this year, and the RFP brought back 12 proposals. A committee of 6 here in Akron reviewed all 12 proposals. From there, we narrowed that down to 5, the 5 best. And the 5 best then made presentations to a smaller committee of 4. And that committee selected All Hands Consulting, which is what this ordinance addresses, as being the best one. They weren't the most costly, nor were they the cheapest, but they were who we felt would do the best for the city of Akron and its residents.
Thanks for that information. Do we have any questions from any committee members? Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where is this company located at?
They are located out of the city of Akron, out of Ohio, but they have resources here that are local that would be one of their primary folks that work for them lives in Talmadge. And they would be right almost at our beckoning, coming in and talking to us when they need to.
Okay, you say it's located outside of Akron, but is it in the state of Ohio? The main office?
No, they are not. They have, the main office is outside the state of Ohio. They do have subsidiary offices in the state, though.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I got to call you chief, but do we give you a title yet with the position you're working in with the administration or what?
Calling me Joe is just fine.
Joe, all right, I'll call you chief. So we might have to backpedal here. We're going to enter into an agreement with a consultant company for roughly around $108,000 to start this office, correct?
To help build the office further, yes.
Okay, because I know you worked really hard with 1431 South Main, and I can't thank you enough for the work that you've put into that. But my only concern moving forward is hiring a consultant company, so I'm going to ask you to sell it to me a little bit better for the $108,000, because we still have something that we're still taking time on in regards to the mobile unit, that I'll call it a mobile resource unit. So that's where I'm at with this. I'm not really against it, but to hire a consultant company at $108,000, there's my little issue, if that makes any sense.
Yes, sir.
So sell it to me, I guess. Apologize to my colleagues. And then while they're talking, I'll ask Steve Fricker this question then. Steve, obviously you're sitting here and I already know probably the answer, but we have this into the budget. And is this something that we just recently put into the budget, or is this something that I somehow didn't know about?
We did put this into the Safety Administration budget. Now, it's a little higher than what we put in the budget, but we did budget for this contract as part of the 2025 budget.
And that the original budget was $75,000?
$75,000, correct.
Okay, now back to you, Joe.
Yes, sir. Just addressing your concern there about the cost, we had some training in 2025's budget also that we won't be able to conduct this year, and we're going to take a piece of that money to round out that 75.
So, okay, no, thank you. So real quick, and then I'll kind of like stop. So Steve, into our budget, we still have that money. We do have the money for the resource mobile unit. That's what I'm calling it. Or is that something that's just thrown up there and?
I would have to check. I'm not sure that that was still within the budget.
We're still taking time on that, right, Mr. Chair? Or am I missing something?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, so just moving forward, and then I'll stop and I'll make my decision later or whatever happens. But like I said, Joe, I'm not against this totally, but I would like to see, I see what you're trying to do, but I would like to see where we're at with that resource mobile unit, because what's the price tag on that again, if you can refresh my memory, someone?
It was just over 500,000, and we had budgeted 650 for it.
Okay. So, all right, moving forward, I just have a concern about the hiring a consultant company at $108,000, and I think that really started with me a few months ago in regards to some other things we've done as a city with consultant companies and given these consultant companies money, and I won't get into too much detail about it, why I have a concern about that, but that's it, so thank you.
So
Thank
let
you,
me,
Councilman.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about some of the things we have done towards building that office. And we put together an emergency operations center. That was, we put it together in one of our newer buildings, which is fire administration. We outfitted it with some technology to, pull together leaders in the different divisions if we have a catastrophe and we need to gather in one room, so to speak, to handle that catastrophe. The consultant would help us to round that out, to figure out the roles, to give us some playing cards, and to once those folks get in the room, how do we manage it now? How do we manage that group that's in the room? That's one of the things we would task that consultant with. The mass notification system that we've been talking about, Code Red, that most of you are familiar with. He would give us some clues on how best to use it. We've got some of our own ideas, but nationally we need to kind of look at what's going on outside of Akron, outside of Ohio, and what are they doing? How are they doing it? Again, we have our own ideas, but that may not necessarily be the best practice. We're trying to engage with the schools, Akron Public Schools. We hope to resume conversations again with them when they open back up this fall, but for some public safety training. And that's got long-term implications and ramifications, but we do have an open line of communication with Akron Public Schools right now, and we are trying to engage with some additional things there. The consultant is going to help us with some training ideas, laying out some scenarios for us. How do you manage these scenarios? That type of thing. They've got a vast wealth of experience with that type of thing. Our special events and our safety planning at those events. Our safety forces do a great job of trying to prepare themselves for what happens. What I'm trying to do is prepare ourselves for what we do after something happens. How do we deal with that? How do we recover? How do we put things back together? That's part of what emergency management does. We've been working on something called a continuity of operations plan, also known as COOP, C-O-O-P. And it's an emergency plan for every division in the city. And it's currently being worked on right now. We've got it built, and we're going to start filling in the information. But how do you make all that work together? It's something called a comprehensive emergency operations plan. How does the whole city react if it's a massive disaster? How does this all come together? That's something I have no experience with. And again, this is one of the big key takeaways from the consultant, that they help you with developing this comprehensive emergency operations plan. You talked about 1431 yourself, and that's just one small example, and it's a small example of what could and what we can do better. So that's just some of the things.
Thanks for that information.
Council Chair and councilpersons, I'm not a good salesperson, but I'm a real good person about thinking about some of the practicalities of what Chief Joe was talking about. We might have events that are natural, have events that are legislative or coming from different portions of government. And our coordinated response for the city of Akron will be extremely important. We have to mind this ourselves because no one else is going to take care of us the way we would take care of us. Getting the expertise of agencies to bring that to Akron so that we might be able to cope with things that might occur is extremely important. And I would, Chief Joe has gotten some information, I'd be happy to forward that to you about pulling the components together. Command center, how do we work with, it's code red, the mass notification systems, how do we get information to other parts of city administration, council, courts, so that as a voice, the city of Akron will be able to respond coherently, with precision, with the best operating, highest level of operation possible. I'll be more than happy. I probably should have sent this out earlier, but I'll send out some information so that you know the pieces that Joe has been putting together over this last year, so that in the event of an unexpected event, whether it's natural or weather, climate, flooding, fire, chemical plant, that the city is able to respond in a way that's responsive, quick, efficient, best practices to protect all of the city. Right now, we have a good base and foundation, but being able to pull that together coherently is why we're respectfully asking for the services of the consultant. Thank you.
Thanks for that information. Councilman, you have? Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Take over the meeting, but like you just referred to Joe twice. I could see emergency management director. I like to give this guy a title. I mean, like if he's standing in front of 1431 Main Street and he's on the news, and people will be like, "We just interviewed Joe from the city of Akron." No. Emergency Management Director, I wrote it down. What do you guys think? Go back to the mayor, tell him. I think it's a good one.
I appreciate that suggestion, and it has been part of a conversation. But
Okay.
that is some good support right there. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you. I don't want to talk anymore, but thank you for, selling it to me and explaining it to me, and I appreciate that, so thanks.
Are there any other questions or comments from any committee members? What's the time frame on this?
Possibly.
Consent?
Yes, sir.
Would that be, okay. Can I get a motion for
I'll
consent?
make a motion for consent agenda.
Thank you.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that on consent. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. We have nothing further to come before.
We have one more piece, number
Oh,
11.
I'm sorry, I'm
Thank you.
mistaken. Yes, we do. We have another piece to come before us today. Thank you, clerk. We have an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement or agreements with the County of Summit, Ohio, City of Fairlawn, Ohio, and the University of Akron in order to carry out the South of Exchange Public Safety Cameras District Initiative and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as the legislation talks about, this is related to the camera project that we did on Exchange Street in the University of Akron corridor. This was a joint project between the city, the county, and the university. The county ran the project. Throughout the course of the project, they got various bids, and they had to bid the work a couple of different times, and the work ended up coming in a little bit higher than what was originally budgeted. This was part of the ARPA, one of the ARPA projects. So this is just the closeout. It's $106,000 for the closeout payment that we have to make to the county in order to cover our share, which was roughly a third. So the whole project ended up being about $3.4 million, and our share was $1,186,000 of that. So we had slightly the highest share, but it was roughly a third for each of the city, the county, and the university.
Thanks for that information. That was discussed in Board of Control today.
Correct.
And I know that this has been quite useful in that area of the city because of issues that we've had and so on. Is any questions or comments from any committee members? What's the time frame on this?
Consent is fine for this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for consent.
I have a motion for consent. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor of consent?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. I appreciate you coming down today. Now we have nothing further to come before public safety, and we will be adjourned.
That is the final committee meeting today. Council will meet in special session at 5 o'clock. Thank you.